Hello, my dear. If you're listening to me right now, maybe you're sitting somewhere quiet. Maybe life has hurt you too, or maybe you're just tired. My name is Margaret Hale. I'm 78 years old, and this is the story of how I lost everything and still found a way to build something beautiful. I wasn't always strong. People look at me now and say, "Grandma Margaret, you're so brave," but they don't know how afraid I used to be. For 41 years, I was just a wife. My husband, Thomas, he was my world. We married when I was 19. He worked at the same furniture factory his entire life. Steady man, quiet, honest. We never had much money, but we had routine. Morning coffee together, evening walks, shared silence that felt safe. I thought that was enough. I thought life would always stay small, but steady. Until the day it broke. Thomas died on a cold November morning. Heart attack, sudden, no warning, no goodbye. 1 minute he was sitting at the kitchen table, complaining that the toast was burnt. The next, he was on the floor. I remember the sound of the mug shattering. I remember my own voice screaming his name. I remember the ambulance lights flashing against the curtains. And then, silence. 41 years, reduced to a death certificate and a folded suit in the closet. I didn't just lose my husband that day. I lost my identity because I had never been anything except Thomas's wife. 3 weeks after the funeral, the bills started coming. Electricity overdue, mortgage behind, medical debts I didn't know existed. I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by envelopes, hands shaking. I had never paid a bill before. Thomas handled everything. And then the bank letter came. Foreclosure warning. I remember whispering out loud, "Thomas, what do I do?" But grief doesn't answer. My daughter, Carol, came over that evening. She hugged me, looked around the house, and said quietly, "Mom, you can't stay here alone. You should sell, move in with us." I thought she cared. I didn't know she had already spoken to a realtor. Within 2 weeks, strangers were walking through my home, touching my furniture, opening closets, judging the life I built. Carol said it was for my safety, but I saw the truth in her husband's eyes. They wanted the house money. The day the house sold, I stood in the empty living room. The wall still had a faint rectangle where our wedding photo hung. 41 years, packed into boxes, labeled kitchen, linen, miscellaneous. I pressed my hand against the wall and whispered, "Goodbye, Thomas." That was the moment I became invisible. A widow, a burden, an old woman with nowhere to belong. I moved into my daughter's house. They gave me the spare room, small, window facing a fence. I told myself to be grateful, but slowly I realized something painful. I wasn't family anymore. I was an obligation. I cooked, cleaned, watched their children, and still felt unwelcome. My son-in-law once said, thinking I couldn't hear, "How long is she staying?" I learned the answer the hard way. Old age makes you temporary. One night, I overheard them arguing. Carol said, "Mom still has some savings left. If she helps with the mortgage, it would be fair." Fair. I had already sold my home, lost my husband, given free childcare, and now they wanted the rest. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling. And for the first time in my life, I asked myself a question. Margaret, if you don't stand up now, will you ever? The next morning, I opened my old recipe notebook. It was faded, flour-stained, filled with things I used to bake for church sales and neighbors. Pies, bread, preserves. Thomas used to say, "Maggie, you bake love into everything." I ran my fingers over the pages, and something fragile stirred inside me. Not hope, not yet, just possibility. I baked 3 loaves of bread that day, just 3. I wrapped them in wax paper, walked to the local farmer's market, and stood there shaking. I was 62 years old, selling bread from a folding table. People passed by. No one stopped. I felt foolish, embarrassed, small. Then an elderly man approached. He picked up a loaf, inhaled, and smiled. "Smells like my mother's kitchen," he said. He bought one. $3, my first sale. I walked home holding those coins like they were gold, because they were. They were proof that I still had something to give. I kept baking, week after week. At first, just bread, then pies, then jams, then pickled vegetables from borrowed garden plots. I woke at 4 a.m., baked before my daughter's family woke up, quietly built something no one believed in. Carol once laughed. "Mom, you're not going to start a business at your age." I smiled, because I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it to exist again. The final straw came 6 months later. My son-in-law asked for rent. Rent? To live in my daughter's spare room after selling my own house. That night, I packed my belongings. 2 suitcases, recipe notebook, Thomas's photo. I left before sunrise. No argument, no goodbye. Just dignity. I rented a tiny one-room apartment above a laundromat. It smelled like soap and steam. The ceiling leaked. The stove barely worked. But it was mine. For the first time since Thomas died, I felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. I registered a name. Hale's Homestead Kitchen. I didn't know anything about branding, marketing, or permits. I only knew how to bake. But customers remembered me. The bread grandma. Word sped. Local cafes started ordering. Then a grocery store. Then weekend markets. I worked 14 hours a day. Hands cracked, back aching, heart alive. One autumn afternoon, a young woman approached my stall. She said she owned a small specialty food shop and asked if I could supply regularly. I said yes, even though I had no capacity, because sometimes opportunity arrives disguised as terror. That contract changed everything. I bought a larger oven, hired 2 widows from my church, rented a commercial kitchen. We weren't just baking food anymore. We were rebuilding lives. Every woman I hired had a story. Abandonment, loss, age discrimination, financial ruin. Society had declared us finished. So we built a place where finished women began again. We laughed while kneading dough, cried while sealing jars, shared recipes, grief, and hope. Our kitchen smelled like cinnamon and second chances.
By 68, Hale's Homestead products were in 3 states. By 70, we opened a storefront. People lined up for Grandma Margaret's apple pie. I stood behind the counter, apron on, hair white, hands flour dusted, and realized something extraordinary. I had not just survived widowhood, I had reinvented old age. Years later, Carol walked into my store, older, softer, regretful. She cried when she saw me. "Mom, I was wrong." I held her, because bitterness is heavier than forgiveness. but I never moved back. Some doors close to protect you. Now I sit here, 78, watching young women work in the kitchen I built. And I want you to know something, dear listener. Life does not end at loss. Love does not end at death. Worth does not expire with age. I thought widowhood erased me. Instead, it revealed me. If you are grieving, abandoned, dismissed, or afraid, listen carefully. It is not too late. Not at 50, not at 60, not at 80. You still carry skills, memories, strength, stories, and maybe, just maybe, your second life is waiting inside the ruins of the first. I am Margaret Hale, and after my husband died, I started with nothing and built a life that was finally mine. Thank you for listening to me.